poli mahana o kane hoa o honua mea ua a ua mole ua mohala ela o ka papane o ka mamo o ka nuku I iwi o ka ahihi mai hiki lalo a e hiki luna e waihone I hali I mokula ua I ke a he leo no ya. And so at this point, as we've kind of given our whole kupu to the area and we've done our protocol, we'd observe for different signs or ho'ailona to see if our gift of our voice, our leo, has been accepted.
Mele kahea are chants, or oli, used to request permission to enter a place, whether you are entering a halau, someone's home, the forest, or joining a ceremony. Mele kahea must be presented with the proper ana, or spirit and intention, to show respect and humility.
Hey, aloha. My name is Cheyenne Hiapo Perry. I'm with the Mauna Kea Watershed Alliance, and today we're going to be talking about ʻōhiʻa. This is an ʻōhiʻa tree. ʻōhi means to gather. And so often on a brand new lava skate, the ʻōhiʻa will be the first tree to grow on that lava skate. And what happens is the lehua, lehu means 400,000 to number. Lehua attracts native birds that come, and they take from the nectar, and at the same time they poop, and that new poop becomes a new forest. So what you're seeing here is actually the beginning of a native Hawaiian forest.
ʻōhiʻa is a pioneer species, meaning it is the first species to grow in a barren environment, such as a new lava flow.
Aloha everyone. Today we're going to talk a little bit about ʻōhiʻa, and as we talked about before, ʻōhi means to gather. And so behind me is a kipuka. Kipuka is an interesting concept. A kipuka, if you look in the dictionary, it's and in relation to science, a kipuka is older forest that has been surrounded by a newer lava flow. But if you dive into those words, ki and puka, ki means to spew, like kilauea, and puka is like a hole. And so it might be related to the practice of chewing kukui nut when you're on the ocean, and then when you spew the kukui nut onto the top of the ocean, if it's rough water, it actually becomes smooth and there's clarity, and then you can see all the way through to the bottom. And so kipuka could be this, and it's often related to a safe place as well. It could be a single cloud in a blue sky. It could be a hole where there's only redfish in the ocean and surrounded by other types of fish. So kipuka is a very broad concept. So yeah, like I was saying, this particular forest is in the area of I think hundreds of years to thousands of years old, and we're surrounded by newer lava flow, tens of years and hundreds of years. And so what you get is this really cool look back in time. So if you're interested in the area, you want to see what kind of forest had been there before, you just have to know the age of the forest and the lava flow that went around it. So when the lava flow comes around, it actually just it restarts the clock. Now ʻōhiʻa is really well adapted for lava. And so what will happen is as the new lava flow kind of comes around, the first colonizer will be the ʻōhiʻa tree. And like we were talking about earlier, that leads to birds coming, and then they use the bathroom, and then within their poop is also seeds from other plants and trees. So it's really the beginning of the forest. This forest is kind of, middle age. This is ʻōhiʻa right here. You can see we got the one that's on this island is called Metrosideros polymorpha. That's a scientific name, but that means, and it's Latin, and what it means is iron heart of many forms. So it's a very beautiful tree in the Latin, so you can tell right away that that the wood is hard and solid. So it's used for spears and all different types of things. The other really significant thing with ʻōhiʻa is that it's foundational to our native Hawaiian forests. considered the mother of native Hawaiian forests, and it's the in Hawaiian culture, the wood is also significant for to use in heiau and also to make ki'i. So when you make pictures and that type of thing, those are all different types of ki'i. So there is a sacredness attached to the tree as well. Wait. And then we have a couple other, but as you can see, when ʻōhiʻa germinates and becomes a young ʻōhiʻa tree, it starts a community. And so when we walk into this kipuka, we're gonna see what happens. That started with that one ʻōhiʻa tree, and then all of a sudden you've got all this diversity, all these different types of plants. So this one right here is called pukiave. Pukiave can be eaten. The fruit can be eaten by the nene goose. It's also used. It's an interesting thing. The pukiave wood can be used to make fires, and what you can do is with the ali'i, the chiefs, what they would do is bathe in the fire in the smoke from the pukiave, and it would actually make like a smoke screen, like a cloak of invisibility. So they could, when they did that, they could walk amongst the commoners, the makainana, for example. And then we also got ohelo. Ohelo's a fruit, you can eat it, and it's also food for native birds and nene. We've got pilo, right over here. Pilo means swampy or odoriferous kind of smell, and or foul odor. But pilo is related to coffee, and so it's also certain types of pilo you can eat the fruit and it'll cleanse your system. So there is medicine there too. Now ʻōhiʻa is also medicine. The lehua blossoms are used in a tea when mothers are giving birth, and it's used in conjunction with another plant called hau. And that tea, the intention is that it causes a slipping and sliding that goes through the mother, allowing the baby to leave the mother. You can also use the liko, which are the new leaves. And so these can also be used as a tea for just for purification and general well-being. So medicine as well. Here's another plant. This one's called uki. You can see that. Uki right over here. Uki. This is a really well-known one to make hakule or lepo'o, and is often used with ʻōhiʻa to make the lei. Yeah. So speaking of, one of those really interesting mana'os or knowledge is that so when you're making a lei, we were talking about mothers, when you're hapai or pregnant, the lei would be open. And basically what that does is you're not, when you do the closed lei, it kind of signifies a nodding. And so when it's an open lei, that's kind of, it's safer for the mother and the child. This is called vavaiole. It is one of the younger Lycopodium. It's one of the species that comes in on newer lava flows. But that means the rat's foot. So super easy to remember, vavaiole. Okay, mahalo. So we're gonna go ahead and go into our kipuka, and we're gonna take a look and see what else, what other community members we can find in this kipuka. All right, mahalo.
ʻōhiʻa is the dominant species in the forest, but it is found growing among a community of many native species.
So here we are in the kipuka, and this is a plant called kanawau. And kanawau is significant. It was one of the fruits that was given to the chiefs to eat, and what it represents is a strong bloodline, so you can have many children. And so sometimes when we're seeing the fruit of the kanawau tree, we're also thinking about the many branches of the chiefs. and how they have lots of kids. Some of the other ones that we're seeing here, we also have this ōhelo here. This is ōhelo kaula'au. So there's a couple different ōhelos that you'll see, but this is the one that's in the forest. ōhelo kaula'au. And right here, this is a baby olapa. And one of the cool things about olapa, it's a grade in hula. And then olapa means the flash of lightning. If you look at it, it does have and you crush the leaves, it kind of smells like green shoyu mango. And so that's the way you can identify olapa. And right here we have a baby kawa'u. And so kawa'u is significant. The wood that comes from kawa'u is used to make the anvil when you're making kapa. And so that type of wood is used to make the foundation when you pound, when you're making kapa or clothing. So here we have kolea. Kolea is significant for the same reason. You can use the trunk as an anvil for pounding kapa. But the name itself is kind of interesting. So kolea is also a bird, and so which is a Pacific plover. To be called a kolea might not be a good thing, because a kolea is something that comes to Hawaii and fattens up and then leaves. And so the idea behind that kind of that metaphor is that if someone comes and then they just take and then they leave, that's kind of kolea-ish. Yeah, and then so this is the tree. Also one of the native trees that will be found inside the older native forest. So we're in that kipuka right now. You would not necessarily find the kolea on the newer lava flow. And you can identify it by its kind of purple leaf tips. See right there? So kolea. Right, thanks. And so we're still in the same kipuka, and we came across this painu. And so painu is a really interesting native plant. Normally, over the course of time in the last few hundred years, because of the feral ungulates in the forest, like pigs, the pua'a, they have more likely than not, you'll see them up in the trees, epiphytic, so they grow up in the trees. But we see in this forest, they're actually down here on the ground level. So that's an indication that it's a healthy forest. So one of the main relationships that we have with painu is as a lei, especially a lei po'o. And you can see when you make the lei po'o, all this silver side sticks out. So it's really dramatic. It kind of looks like a hina, kind of like a hina with the gray. The flower was also used by many of the native birds before they became extinct. And we had hundreds of species of those birds before contact. Yeah, thank you. So we just wanted to talk a little bit about the oli that we did when we came into the kipuka. That's called a oli kahea. That particular oli is an oli for restoration, and it was kind of created to describe our intention in regards to rapid ōhiʻa death. And so what we do is during that oli is we're naming all the different types of ōhiʻa, but we're also in the imagery, we're seeing the health of the ōhiʻa tree reaching down into the earth and gathering nutrients to be healthier and stronger against the fungus from the ceratocystis from rapid ōhiʻa death. So a lot of the protocols that we'll do, a lot of it has to do with the intention and the power of the voices that are together and the intention towards the health of native Hawaiian forests. Yeah, and so that particular one is, like I said, was about restoration and to make sure that our native forests are healthy and doing well. And so some other mana'o that has to do with the ōhiʻa tree is ōhiʻa is very prominent in hula and kuahu. So it's one of the main trees that's linked to laka. The other one that it has to do with, if you guys have ever heard about kino lao, kino means body, and then lao means many, so many body forms. ʻōhiʻa is a kino lao for ku. And so I know a lot of you, the ones of you that have heard about ku, you think about the god of war, but ku is also the god of the forest. Kumukuhali'i is the spreading across the landscape. And so the ʻōhiʻa is a big part of that, that eco process. Yeah, so that's a few of the kino lao or body forms for ʻōhiʻa. So we got really lucky. We're on the trail and we came across an ʻōhiʻa lehua that is flowering. And then, but we also found some seed. So seed, the name for seed is ano ano, and that's the seed right there. But you can see what we were talking about when we talked about that number 400,000 for the lehua. And so these are the seeds that kind of spread across and land on the hapu'us and other places and grow up. But the ano and ano concept is like, the ano is like the nature of a being. And so it's kind of this idea that if you're an apple, you're an apple. If you're a pear, you're a pear. But all beings have a inherent ano about them.